Hey, it's the Redeye Stream number 110. The Golden State Killer was finally arrested after numerous decades of being on the run. Turns out he was a former police officer, albeit for only about 4 years, I think. We just looked that up, right, guys? I think it was only about 4 years. So it's not like he was a lifetime cop. But it's still interesting. We're going to get into that one. But first, MC has, his favorite whipping boy to talk about, Julian Assange. Take it away, buddy.
Well, some people know him and follow his links. All right. It's H.A. Goodman, right? Wrote this piece. He wrote a piece for the Daily Caller, basically ostensibly to give his points of view about, Julian Assange didn't do nothing, and also to basically make a tie-in between Julian Assange and the fact that people are using him as an excuse for why Hillary blew $1.2 billion losing, an election, and also the fact, to help cover up the fact of her basic, pay for play scandal that came from the State Department. So if you just go to the Daily Caller, put in H.A. Goodman if you want to read his article and so forth. Now, I hear this a lot about Julian Assange. Oh, he didn't do nothing. Oh, he's a hero. Oh, he's just pure, as the wind-driven snow. No, he's not. And it's not that I think that what the Swedish government did was right either. All right. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, that there's something wrong there when you accuse him of rape and nobody can even find out what really happened. All right. But at the same time, I don't want to hear excuses about because H.A. Goodman constantly complains. Oh, he's being imprisoned in the embassy. He's being treated inhumanely. No, he's not. He's in that embassy on his own. He's in that embassy so he doesn't get incarcerated in an actual prison cell somewhere, because that's what he's afraid of, or that's what he says he's afraid of. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to cut you off real quick, though, is there a place in society for whistleblowers? Is there a place for getting out this government corruption and bringing it to the public sphere, bringing it out to light, so to say? In that way, I think Assange does his purpose, and that's how I can say I kind of support him. Is he pure as a driven snow? No, but nobody is.
That doesn't excuse the other crap that he's done. That doesn't excuse the fact that he published names of people that were working with us in Afghanistan, or published enough information about them that got them killed by the Taliban. All right. Where basically they were able to identify chieftains that were working with the United States forces and got them killed. Mm-hmm. All right. He's not to say that, well, he's a whistleblower. Okay. Yeah. There are things that people need to be whistleblown about. And yes, that is important. Right. But it doesn't justify the fact that he was going out and paying people. All right. To leak classified information to him so he could sit up there and got to pick and choose of what information he thought the world should know.
Yeah, but that's the same thing as our governments do right now. The president can declassify whatever he wants. He gets to pick and choose.
He is elected president of the United States. Okay? He is placed in that position of authority. No one placed Julian Assange in that position of authority. Absolutely nobody.
That's a fair point, but I still think some of these things need to be brought to light, and WikiLeaks itself does that.
His behavior, because that's not. If that was all they did, then you would have a case. But that isn't all he does. That isn't all he's done. He has done a lot of damage with his antics, including paying people to basically give him classified information. He is no different than a Russian spy agency in that regard.
That's a fair point. 40, what do you think? Where do you fall when it comes to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks as a whole?
Well, it's 50-50. to be quite honest with you. I mean, here's the thing: the things that sometimes Julian Assange and Snowden and the people like along those lines, they will leak something that it might not be breaking the law, but it's certainly along the prospects of being somewhat unjust towards the general population. It's something the population should be aware of. But at the same time, there are avenues where if the government is doing something illegal, you can go through these avenues, these legal systems, and you can seek refuge. If it truly is something that isn't adhering to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, something along those lines. There are avenues by which you can do this legally and not suffer, not suffer repercussions. You will obviously suffer those if you're a whistleblower. It doesn't necessarily matter what. But at the same time, I mean... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, but tell that to, I don't know, Snowden. Didn't he try to go through the proper channels, got shut the fuck down, and so he's like, fuck it, I'm releasing
what do you mean
this
he
shit.
tried to go through the freaking proper channels? No, he didn't.
Well,
In fact, he even said that he wasn't going to sit up there and bring it to Congress, because especially the Republican congressman, because he didn't want to give it to the Republican congressman. He made a political choice. And that he wasn't doing it for any other reason than to harm the United States, especially harm the country. Now people
the United
say,
States was doing illegal surveillance, illegal dragnet
and how many
surveillance,
people went?
and it needed to be
illegal.
outed.
Okay, it's illegal. It's bad. Okay, did it stop?
How the hell would we know about secret FISA warrants if it wasn't for Edward Snowden or Julian Assange? These type of people. There's a place.
Did Snowden out anybody by name that was doing that?
I don't believe so, actually.
Okay.
But Julian Assange has released names. You are correct there.
All right. So here you have a case, all right, where you have Snowden saying, well, these people were spying on their girlfriends and everything. These are people that he supposedly knows their names, and yet somehow those names weren't released so that punitive action could be taken against them, to where they could be arrested, so they could be handled within the judicial system. Yet somehow I'm supposed to believe that Snowden is doing America a favor?
I feel better to know
that somehow he was doing this because of this. You don't even understand how the rules were even broken. When Snowden gave his interview, his big thing that he complained about was, well, the reason he decided to do this is when he was working, and saw some stuff from the CIA. So he grabs everything from the NSA? Okay, this is bull crap. The guy wanted to hurt America because he was a dedicated communist, and he did.
Well, you have a point. His story is kind of convoluted. I'll grant you that. All right. But we're not talking about perfect individuals. These aren't Thomas Jefferson or George Washington, all right? We don't live in a black and white world. We live in many different shades of gray. And you got to take the good with the bad.
I'm not calling him a hero, though. I'm not.
I said there's a place for these people. Oh, no, yeah, okay.
It's called prison. Right. It's called prison.
I walked into that one. Fuck off.
You did.
It's not that there are other ways that this stuff could have been brought out. There could be things that people could actually take actions on because of how the actions were taken and what actions were taken. Nothing got changed. Absolutely nothing got changed. And the fact that he's over in Russia, where he can't be interviewed by the press, where people don't have access to him, right? Where people can't verify his stories, or where he can't give his stories directly to people without a filter from the enemies of the United States.
Yeah, well, and let's be honest. I mean, I think there was one interview I saw with Putin about Julian Assange, and Putin says, "Oh, well, we should be interrogating him, and we should be questioning him, but we're not." And I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't trust Putin as far as I can Taekwondo throw him. So I mean, you know that he's under Russia's thumb in terms of seeking asylum, and you know that he's cooperating as much as he's willing to some degree.
Otherwise, yeah, but what other choice did he have? Yeah, but what other choice did he have? I mean, he would have already been black bagged.
No, he wasn't going to get black bagged. He made up these stories on his own because he's got this freaking, Judas complex. As he thinks of himself as the grandiose hero. He's no different than Klaus Fuchs.
Okay, well, let's get back around to Assange, because Assange and Snowden are quite different. Snowden released information. He was a contractor. He broke his NDA and released all the information he can grab. Julian Assange is more of I got given these documents, I read through them, and I'm releasing them piecemeal, which I don't like, by the way. He should release what he has in whole, in its entirety, other than names. Black out the names, all right, of our operatives. Would that have been better for you? Or would you still hate the man?
Who? Julian Assange?
Yes, because Assange is who we were originally talking about. Yeah, I'm trying to connect it back to Assange.
Julian Assange has put himself above U.S. law to sit up there and play himself in the political world and try to mess with the United States. No, he would never be a hero. I would not grant this man any kind of status aside from, okay, he has general MSM status as far as I'm concerned. He's a reporter. He's one step below a frickin' rat.
But is he above a lawyer? I digress. Sorry.
Maybe.
They swim in the same sewer. How's that?
I don't know. Like 40, I cut you off, so I'm going to throw another question at you. What do you think? If Assange would not release this stuff piecemeal like he does, a little bit at a time after he reviews it and decides this is politically expedient for me right now. If he released all the information that was given to him at once, wouldn't that be more appropriate?
I don't know, because to be honest, my problem with whistleblowers is the fact that they do have the potential to compromise our standing on the grand chessboard, so to speak. As much as we might not like it, as much as you might not like it, it's American hegemony across the entire world that keeps us safe. And unless you would rather have Russia take up that kind of position, then there's it's a give and take. I mean, with American hegemony also comes our safety and the safety of our allies to some degree. And if Julian Assange is going to sit up there and release names of people who are working with us in Afghanistan to try and root out the Taliban or ISIS or whoever we're fighting at that moment, then I could never support that, because that compromises the safety of military personnel, diplomatic personnel, and it's not going to make for a good combo, and that's going to loosen our grip on those regions that we desperately need if we're going to maintain hegemony and thus, by extension, safety in those particular regions and also at home in terms of terrorist attacks and everything like that. So I couldn't support it to that degree. But I mean, if there is something that is unconstitutional, that it doesn't adhere to our Bill of Rights, that isn't just due to our laws or in relation to our laws, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. If they can name names of who's going about doing these unconstitutional things, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's just that I don't want to risk the safety and the security, and I don't want to risk the stance of our nation in the world, if that makes sense.
If we were in some kind of, I don't know, Pax Americana, a prolonged period of peace, I might agree with you. But our foreign entanglements, our foreign interventions all across the world make us unsafe as it is. What is wrong with letting Russia take over part of the problem? I'm fine with it. What's wrong with Fortress America? What's wrong with pulling back a little bit? You still stand with your main allies, the ones that pay their bills back, like Cabbage always brings up. Or, if we have a real strategic reason to be there, other than, I don't know, killing some fucking ragheads and stealing their oil. I mean, we are not in a Pax Americana, sir.
Well, that's true, and I mean, strategically speaking, why not let Russia fight some elusive enemy that hides in caves and shadows? Why not let Russia drain their resources, fighting some of these terrorist groups? To that degree, I can agree because I mean, strategically that might be somewhat efficient. Kind of hurt Russia's economy a little by luring them into a kind of a state of war. Where they're fighting this elusive enemy, but on the other hand, what if they succeed in doing that? What if they do eventually end up in control of Afghanistan? What if they do end up in control of Syria? Well, then, at the same time, that does put a few of our allies at risk to some degree. And unfortunately, as much as I don't like it, we do have obligations to a few people in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, and we can't go about breaking those promises. Otherwise, that compromises our hegemony.
Yeah, MC, go ahead and respond to both of us. I'm sure you disagree with me in Fortress America. So go ahead, sir.
Fortress America would be fine. How do you plan to stop a missile?
Don't we have a missile defense grid, sir?
Okay. How do
Pretty sure we have that one covered.
How do we stop 50? How do we stop 100? Okay, missile defense grids are not perfect. All right, but if you outnumber them, yeah, that works really well. Okay, but there's no perfection and there's no guarantees. And when you're talking about something that can go from one end of one side of the earth to the other side of the earth, not in a matter of hours, but in a matter of minutes, within 20 minutes, okay, then this idea that you can ball yourself up into a Fortress America and nothing's going to happen is just not myopic. Furthermore, it's not like the United States hasn't been attacked by several of these groups. All right, to ignore these kind of attacks, to ignore what else is going on in the world, all right, it is a mistake. Now, I do agree that we are overextended. I do agree that we don't necessarily need to be in some of these areas. Mm-hmm. All right. However, to turn things over to nation states that are our dedicated and sworn enemies and saying, well, we'll just let them have it, is you're doing a lot of damage, and basically what you're doing is you're putting the United States in a more awkward and more difficult position, right, to defend itself. So you've got to sit up there and make choices like this, right? We could have right after World War II reduced our the United States Army to around 100,000 again, like we had prior to World War II. All right, and what would have been the result? There wouldn't have been an East Germany because there would have been Germany would have been directly under the entire thumb of the Soviet Union, right? Mm-hmm. There wouldn't have been an East Berlin or a West Berlin because they would have taken it all over, all right? There was going to be nothing to stop them, right? Well, so to ignore those responsibilities, to ignore all that, which is what what basically you're saying, right? Is to basically turn all that over and then basically isolate the United States. Yes. Well, what else were you going to do after World War II? What else were you going to
do? What is the definition of insanity, sir? Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. We cannot keep getting these foreign entanglements and getting ourselves into these conflicts.
You talk like we're doing all these because we're not doing it the right way either. Okay? Because of people like you who constantly cry about each and every little thing that the United States does. Whenever the United States uses any kind of power, all right, the first people out there are the ones complaining, oh, we shouldn't be there, oh, we can't be doing this. You basically trying to submarine any kind of effort that's going on in there, just like they did in Iraq. Okay, Iraq was becoming more and more stable as we were going through. Did we do it the way we should have done it? No. But once again, why was that? Because we wanted to do it nicely. There was too much kibitzing about, oh, look at the poor civilians that died. Oh, they were innocent civilians. Oh, they didn't know any better. Oh, they were just trying to live their lives. Well, how would you like it if they came over to the United States? I hear this crap again and again and again. And I heard it. All right after 9/11 even. Oh, well, you got to understand their point of view. No, I don't have to understand their point of view because I don't give a shit about their point of view. I give a shit about their actions, and their actions harm Americans directly, not just indirectly, directly.
Yeah, but didn't our actions create the problem to begin with? No,
our actions did not create the problem. It's another thing.
We could not arm Osama bin Laden to fight in Afghanistan against the Russians.
Us arming Osama bin Laden, all right.
We created our own monster. We created Frankenstein. And then we
nonsense.
got mad when he came over here and fucked with us.
That's bullshit. Okay? We somehow engendered his hatred by giving him weapons to fight the Soviets. No, they were going to do that
but
anyway.
You gave him...
They were enemies, okay? They were enemies, but at a time period, there was a bigger enemy. Just like the Soviet Union was an enemy. But when we were fighting the Nazis, there was a bigger enemy. You can't sit up there and go, well, it's our fault. And the word you used, sir, was it was our fault. We deserved to be attacked then. That's nonsense.
Okay, I saw BTK jumped in. I'm sure you got something to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just went. Can you? Well, first, can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Hi. Yeah. Somebody had mentioned, if we close off our borders and make Fortress America, what are we gonna do about one missile? And somebody said missile defense system, and then they said, what about 100? Okay. If we close down our borders and bring billions and billions and billions to foreign countries, quickly we could build up a coastal missile defense, could knock 1,000 fucking rockets out of the sky in a minute.
Oh, really?
We could have a freaking surface to air system every fucking 50 miles.
Sure, we could. We could do that now.
In the next 5 years.
We could do that now. What's preventing us from doing that is not our troops overseas. Just like saying that our debt is because of the military spending. Don't get me wrong, military spending is very costly. And do I think it's excessive? Yes, I do think it's excessive. All right. However, to say that that's the reason that we're in debt just ignores the fact of what we've been doing. It ignores the fact of where this money is really being spent. All right. And to say, okay, well, I want to fix this, it's not going to fix it.
Yeah. I would also say we should we should close our borders, bring everybody home, build up a coastal defense system, and if Russia winds up taking over the rest of the world, or not taking over the rest of the world, because China will say, excuse me, but if Russia becomes the major political or whatever influence in the rest of the world, I don't care. Not my country, not my people, not my problem. They try to come here, we fuck them up. What they do over there, I don't care.
Okay, and if we're trying to float some ships in the oceans and they get sunk by subs, it's not our fault.
Well, that's an act of war. That's an act of aggression. Then you have the full
that would be an act of
United
war.
States behind you.
Yeah, that's what's
you
happened.
You won't have people like me or Ron Paul.
That's what's happened twice in history when we did that. So
Ron Paul did not vote against the Afghan war. He voted for the Afghanistan war because they attacked us.
Whether you like it or not, we also voted for the war in Iraq. I know you don't like that fact. All right, but
well, Ron Paul voted no on that one.
I don't care what Ron Paul is only one person, okay? But we're back to, I'm talking about World War I and World War II. Why did we get involved in those wars? Because we were playing Fortress America and we got attacked both times, doing the exact thing that you're talking about.
In World War I.
What?
We lost a ship in World War I.
We lost a lot of ships
because we were trying to play both sides.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were. I'm saying sever ties with allies. Their problems are not our problems.
Their problems become our problems, whether we like it or not. We don't live in an isolated world. If we're going to sit up there and have shipping, if we're going to sit up there and travel on the seas in any way, shape, or form, then what affects those oceans is going to affect us.
The thing is, we don't need that.
We don't need ships?
If somebody wants to do business with us, they can send their own ship here, and if it gets blown up, who cares? Not my ship, not my problem.
That's nonsense.
But what about all the stuff on the ship that you paid for? Well, you don't pay for it until it's on your land.
That's silly. So you're going to tell all Americans you're no longer authorized to actually build your own ships and sail them in the ocean. That's your solution.
The Constitution does not.
Ship if you want to, but that's at your own risk.
The Constitution does not guarantee the right of a standing army, but it does guarantee the right of the federal government to create a navy for the mutual defense of our shipping routes. I mean, that's all in the Constitution. So MC has a...
The Constitution actually says we're not supposed to have a standing army. It's
And it
supposed to
doesn't
be
say
voted
that.
on every 2 years for the financing.
Well, it does. It does sit up
yeah,
there and say that the size of the military is under the control. The size of the army is under the control of the Congress, and it's still under the control of Congress. Congress still sets those levels. That hasn't changed.
The financing has to be set every 2 years. If Congress decides not to finance the army, then we no longer have a standing army.
Yeah, but Congress would be voted out. They would never be reelected if they shut down the military. Yeah, there's no way.
I mean, we're supposed to have a militia, not a standing army. If you read the notes of the Founding Fathers, that's why they put it in there, that Congress has to vote on it every 2 years to keep it financed. And we're
well, you're right. You're absolutely right. But
it wasn't put in there because they were expecting there to just be a militia. That's not accurate. They what they were doing at that point, it was part of
a militia.
No. They didn't do that because they were trying to prevent an army. What they were doing is they were creating part of the checks and balances within the system, saying Congress has certain powers, the president has certain powers, obviously the judicial branch has certain powers. Okay. And so the idea that we couldn't have an army or we shouldn't have an army was never something that was within the Constitution saying one way or the other. What they were doing is that they were giving the powers to create the army and maintain the army, all right, to Congress, right? Which is one of the reasons why when you get to a certain commission level, all right, you have to get approval by Congress, even although the nomination process is from the President of the United States. This is all part of the checks and balances within the government, but it's not something that says this shouldn't exist.
No, I'm not saying that the Founding Fathers didn't want us to have a military. They didn't want us to have a 24/7 standing army. If you read this in the Constitution directly or in the notes of the Founding Fathers, after the Revolutionary War, every 2 years we had our standing army is only supposed to exist in times of war. Beyond that, it's supposed to be a militia. And my VPN's screwing up my internet, so I can't pull it up.
Well, I mean, they should have put their notes in the fucking Constitution. That's what that sounds like to me.
George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, they all have notes and memoirs saying that they do not want a standing army.
Yet all of them approved
a standing military force with an overgrown executive will not be will not long be safe companions to liberty.
Yeah, but that's not that's not the same thing. All right, and that's why you put the policy to limit the power of the executive branch. That's why it's in there. It's not that it wasn't supposed to, the army or a standing army won't exist. It's that it was directly subordinated to the presidency or the executive branch, and that's what they were afraid of. The United States military still has subjects, or still has there's rules to the United States military that are subject to Congress and Congress alone, not to the executive branch, because they trusted the people's representatives more than they trusted any executive branch.
Well, you said they all approved West Point. Well, but was that conditional upon, being in a state of war, or was that conditional to just the fact that we were in a state of war at the time West Point was founded, or like, God, I'm not entirely sure how to ask this question, but I mean, I suppose was the supporting of West Point, was that conditional to our circumstances at the time, or is that supposed to be your kind of year-round thing?
No,
okay. Here's what George Washington had to say on it. A peace establishment for the United States of America may, in my opinion, be classed under 4 different heads. First, a regular and standing force for garrisoning West Point, the northern, western, and southern frontiers, shall be deemed necessary to all the Indians, protect our trade, prevent the encroachment of our neighbors of Canada and the Floridas, and guard us at least from surprises. Second, a well-organized militia upon a plan that shall pervade all of the states and introduce similarity in their established maneuvers, exercise, and arms. Third, establishing arsenals of all kinds of military stores. And fourth, academies, one or more of instruction of the art military, particularly those branches of it which respect engineering, artillery, and artillery, which are considered essential, and the knowledge of which is most difficult to obtain. Upon these, and in the order which they stand, I shall give my sentiments as concisely as I can, that the freedom of the committee shall have authorized. So in other words, part of his speech to the Continental Congress.
And if you take a look at what that's saying, all right, basically he is making the case that you need a standing army to protect your borders. That you need to protect it from hold on. What was the word he used? Against what? Against surprises.
Let's see here. Guard us at least from surprises. Also for the security of our magazines. Okay. So basically a standing army to or stations to protect your war supplies, your arsenals.
But also to protect the nation from a surprise attack. Now, how are you going to do that without a
He wanted military schools. He wanted military schools, and he wanted basically what we would now call border patrol, is what the function that he saw of the military.
The border security.
To secure the borders.
I wouldn't say border patrol.
Yeah, to secure the borders. Yeah, wrong word. So secure the borders, secure our arsenals, and staff and maintain our military training facilities.
To prevent us from surprise
and he specifically named West Point.
Right,
but we don't have to be the world police with our military to prevent
I'm not arguing
attack.
The point. We're not.
We have radar now.
Well, yeah, but radar's not going to keep you from a surprise attack. Okay, the idea that somehow you can sit with radar and sit behind Fortress America with radar and say we'll detect this is nonsense. All right, he's making a much broader case than just that. Okay, now once again, do I think that we are overextended in areas that we don't need to be? Yes, I do think we're overextended in areas that we don't need to be. But to come back with the idea that we shouldn't have troops on foreign lands right now, with the situation of the world in, you're basically inviting a surprise attack if you sit up there and pull all U.S. forces from overseas and you stick them in the United States. You're pretty much guaranteeing it.
Well, I do have. I mean, there is some good news on the horizon. The North Korea and South Korea, the North Korean war might be ending. The Korean conflict, whatever you want to call it. So that will bring a lot of troops home if we just let South Korea handle their own border patrol. But I think we've argued before that we're going to end up staying in the Korean Peninsula, aren't we?
Not necessarily, but I suspect. I'm more of a let's wait and see. This is a very, very first tentative step. All right, have these kind of steps look like this before? Yes. Did they come out the way we wanted to? No. Okay, so just because something like this is looking more useful, all right, doesn't mean that it is. There are things we definitely could do. Could we withdraw troops in certain areas? Do we need to have troops in Germany? No, we don't need troops in Germany. We should realign our troops out of Germany. I'm all for that. Now, does that mean that we can pull out of every single area? No, it does not. We would still need bases in Spain. We will still need bases in Italy. All right, we'll still need bases in Poland. Do we need to have bases? No, but we definitely we can't just.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to move on to the next actual topic. And the French president, Emmanuel Macron, used his speech at the joint houses of the U.S. Congress to denounce nationalism and isolationism. Mr. Macron said such policies were a threat to global prosperity. The speech was widely interpreted as a thinly veiled attack on President Donald Trump's America First agenda. Mr. Macron also raised differences on global trade, Iran, and the environment. seemingly in contrast to the warm bonhomie of his visit so far. I don't even know what the fuck bonhomie means. What the fuck does that mean? Thank you, BBC. Fucking use English. We've covered this before. The French president was given a 3-minute standing ovation as he took his place in the chamber for his speech. He hailed the unbreakable bonds of the United States and France, forged in liberty, tolerance, and human rights. Okay, so how can you both denounce nationalism and the fact that America should be the power of the world, you know, the global order should be maintained, and at the same time say that America should, because he denounced nationalism, so America shouldn't think we're the best, right, as far as he's concerned. But he also denounced isolationism, Fortress America, like we were just talking about. You can't have it both ways, Mr. Macron, can you?
Yeah, he can.
He's basically saying the United States shouldn't exist and everything should be under the supremacy of the French.
I don't think that's what he was saying.
Well, he's saying stop being so proud of yourselves and let everybody else in. Denouncing nationalism is don't be so fucking stuck up your own ass. Isolationist is saying, hey, be like us and let everybody in your country.
Yeah.
Basically. So that you can have, you know, trucks of peace.
That macaroon can shove it, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and did you see that where they went out on the balcony or whatever, and like Macron was holding fucking President Trump's hand and wouldn't let go? The president kept trying to get him to let go of his fucking hand. I thought that was hilarious.
They were playing for the camera. That was intentional. They even said that.
Whatever. That it seemed like the gay Frenchy guy wouldn't let go of his hand. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he's got such small hands.
Well, then the President Trump should be able to slip out of his grasp easily. You know, small hands.
Personally, I would have been happier if he would have freaking body slammed his freaking skinny little freaking French ass. The French wanted to sit up there and become a world power.
I think he should have shoved them off
this bullshit and let them freaking build some ships. They've got a couple of aircraft carriers. Let them go to the freaking Mediterranean and play around. Next time somebody demands something to happen in Syria, I expect the French Mirages to be flying all over those areas. You can put your own freaking French troops in there.
Well, yeah, it just seems it seemed condescending to me. And how did they give him a fucking 3-minute standing ovation? Why?
Because he's a leader, a world leader that's coming to Congress, and they were clapping for him as he came to Congress. They didn't say they gave him a standing ovation after he started opening his mouth.
That's a fair point.
Well, you only get I thought an ovation happens when you're done.
No, any leader, any foreign leader, or even obviously the president, when the president walks down into the House of Congress, they are often given a standing ovation for a period of time.
That's
I don't know.
They're mentally challenged.
I just wanted to touch on that story a little bit. It just seemed kind of condescending to me, especially when France has its own overreach right now. That they bomb Syria with us.
Yeah, I think they shot whole 9 missiles.
Well, that's gotta be a lot for them. I mean, come on, they can't have that many weapons.
I think France only had 4 planes.
What's the population size of France?
Yeah, but they're surrender monkeys. We already know that.
Don't care if they're surrender monkeys. Let them deal with it. They have more of a freaking.
Are we counting the 90% that's Muslim, or?
I don't even care if they're counting the ones that are Muslims. They have more of a tie to what's going on in Syria than we do. They have historical ties to that region. Let them deal with it.
Well, no, you asked what the population size of France was. I'm asking, are we counting the 90% immigrants that are from that region?
Sure, why not? You can even count the Canadian French, as far as I'm concerned.
Because the latest study I saw said that by 20...
The rest of the world does a lot of kibitzing about the United States, about how evil we are and how powerful we are and how we just belligerent our way through. Personally, if we're going to start going with that attitude, we're going to start doing it just like every other nation. This is what Trump has basically said. We're going to act like all the other nations, no differently. The only difference you're going to see is the fact that we have the power to back up our words. And if you don't like it, we're not going to care anymore. We're not playing pussyfoot anymore. We're not going to sit up there and go, okay, we'll go ahead and take the bullet for you today. That's not going to happen anymore. That's why the world is shifting. That's why they don't like the fact that the United States is talking about nationalistic fervor. Now, there are other considerations when you deal with France. That's very true. I mean, they were on the front lines with the Nazis. Of course, if they actually fought their war correctly, they wouldn't have had to deal with that.
Yeah, I was just pulling up.
Looks like I got another live stream to hop into, so y'all have a good night. I'm bouncing out.
All right. Yep. But yeah, I'm popping open that story that you shared about the Baltimore mayor trying to address the city's violence by pretty much instituting a curfew on businesses. The city of Baltimore has a real problem. It's been suffering from a wave of violence for some time. Residents of the city thought it was over. After all, the murder rate was, for the first time in 3 months of this year, has dropped. Undoubtedly a good sign. But this month, the city has seen at least 29 murders as the violence surged yet again. This led Mayor Kathleen Plew to take to the streets to visit some local businesses. One of the exchanges, recorded by the Baltimore Sun, was a little concerning, though. You see, she stood inside of an area convenience store and asked what time the store closed. When the order responded, they closed at 11:30. That wasn't good enough. Isn't that late? The mayor reportedly responded. That's a little late. It keeps crowds around here. 9 o'clock sounds nice. We need you all to close at 9 o'clock at night in the city of fucking Baltimore. Are you kidding me?
After she stood up there and invited all these murderous thugs and had a little sit down with the local gangs, we're surprised that the violence is increasing. The only reason that the violence went down in that region was because it was so freaking cold, all right, during the previous month, that most people didn't want to go outside to murder their fellow man in Baltimore.
And it's kind of hard to run from the murder scene too when your footprints are left in the snow.
Ever since the whole Gray thing where he got killed because he was in the police van and we're going to blame the police for police brutality and it's the police's fault. Ever since then, all right, she was the one who instigated it. She frickin' fueled it, her and the state attorney general. All right, and now they have a problem. They told the police to stand down. They have the same problem that's going on actually in my city, where waves of officers are leaving the force. They're actually quitting because they cannot stand the mayor and they cannot stand the chief of police. And now you're wondering, oh, wait a minute here. We want the police. Everyone was cheering that the police were going to lower their presence in these areas. Now, okay, so now you got the lower presence and a massive murder rate. Oh, but they're oppressing people. They're oppressive.
Well, I think a 9 o'clock curfew in a major metropolitan area, excuse me if I can spit that word out, is actually quite concerning. I mean, and the mayor didn't just come out and say that.
She doesn't have the police force to enforce murders. How's she going to enforce a freaking curfew law?
Couldn't you put a city tax on any business that wanted to stay open later than a certain time? I mean, it's a Democratic city council as well in Baltimore, right?
Oh yeah, it's been a Democrat freaking stronghold for freaking decades, and they've basically turned another American city into a freaking pit. That's what leftists do.
I thought taxation was theft.
Taxation is theft. I'm saying this is the way these Democrats are going to do it to shut down these businesses. Because,
how are you going to tax the business? You got to sit up there and prove that they're open. How are you going to prove that they're open? You're going to drive through that area? They're not going to drive through that area. You're going to tell the police to go in and check? There's no police. Your police are leaving. Basically, you
could always hire more police. I mean,
can you? Can you really?
Well,
Wasn't the whole purpose to reduce police presence in these areas? The mayor's stated goal?
yeah. Well, I mean it's a pretty fucking notorious aspect of policing that a lot of these democratic states have notoriously high turnover rates for police. I know that we actually have that problem in my city. The police officers will literally come and fucking go because they're in some respect they're not allowed to do their jobs. And to some degree, it's not even necessarily the regulation, but I mean, some of these people, I do know one person who said, yeah, I would much rather work at this like major corporation. I make more money working at this corporation than I do, having to deal with the hassles of being a police officer. So there is that barrier of entry to where it's just not worth it to be a police officer, especially in a lot of these democratic states.
Well, okay, it's pretty easy though to actually patrol and enforce a curfew. In our city, they had a 10:30 curfew for anybody below the age of 18, and the cops just drive around. If you're out past curfew, you get either taken home or sent to juvenile detention for a night. So, I mean, there are curfew laws in certain areas. But to try and do a curfew on adults
in Baltimore, then that would be patrolling the area, and that would be considered, oppressive. So that's why they pulled them off the street. So you tell them the cops to go back on the street?
I'm not the one running the city. I'm just saying, though, there's a difference between a curfew on minors, like I was just bringing up, and telling legitimate adult business owners what time to close their freaking 7-Eleven. Last I checked, 7-Eleven was 24 hours. How much business would they lose closing at 9 o'clock at night?
I don't know. It's a good question.
And in these areas with high murder rates, aren't these the minority parts of town? You're going to shut down the convenience store in that part of town, but not the other without the murder rates? I mean, that seems like a racist policy to me.
Oh, okay.
Don't give him any ideas, Matt Dodge.
But she's a Democrat, so therefore she's immune. She has racist armor on.
Well, she's also African American, right?
I think she is in this case, but that it wouldn't matter. If she was a Republican and a black person, they would have call her racist. Just ask Candace Owens or Kanye West. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Oh my god! I thought about making a video about that this morning. I just didn't. Not this morning. This afternoon. I just didn't have time. Okay.
I just want to know what dragon energy is. Is that like Charlie Sheen's tiger blood? I'm so confused.
I was literally thinking that same fucking thing. I'm not even kidding you. I had no idea.
Well, it starts with the fact that for whatever reason, Kim Kardashian has millions of Twitter followers. It's bad enough when they created her and said, look, she's a celebrity without any discernible talent whatsoever. Right? Aside from the fact that she's somehow related to Bruce Jenner. I mean, I've never understood why people listen to them or even hold them in any kind of credence from a celebrity standpoint. Now, Kanye West, at least, I mean, he's a rapper, right? So he at least created his own celebrity, right? What did Kardashian do for a celebrity? Pull her dress down?
Well, weren't they all connected to the OJ trial somehow? Like their dad was friends with OJ or some shit? I don't know. There was a way this all started.
Their dad is Bruce Jenner.
No, okay. Not their dad. Bruce. Isn't it Kaylee now? I don't know. Even fucking care. I don't care.
Well, no, I thought it was... No, I do remember hearing about that. Someone linked to the Kardashians was... OJ's lawyer or something like that is fuck. That kind of ticks me off now. I want to know who it was. It's like an uncle or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember there being some kind of connection.
Don't care. but that has nothing to do with Kim Kardashian, in my opinion.
No, but anyway, looking on that Baltimore article, it says, I think it was an editor's edition, but surprise, the Baltimore residents blame the low policing on the high murder rate. So yeah, they can't have it both ways. Either you want police patrolling the high crime areas, or you don't. And if you don't, then you can't complain about the crime.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd let it burn. If it was up to me, I'd sit up there and go in there and sell every freaking weapon I possibly could.
Well, Baltimore is pretty close to Washington, D.C., so, I mean, I'm surprised the murder rate hasn't really spilled over. Oh, wait a minute. It has. D.C. has a horrible crime rate. Damn.
Well, it's true.
But all right, are we going to move on to the Golden State Killer then, or do you have another story you want to bring up before we hit that? I guess my kids aren't taking a nap today, so bear with me, guys. This might be a short one.
Golden State Killer. All right.
No, I think the Golden State Killer is time. You've been begging to get after this. This has been your favorite story, Mad Dog. So, crazy person's choice. Go for it.
Ouch.
All right. First off, I'll pull up the Fox News article. I also have the Wikipedia page about it that goes more into depth. But this is out of Fox News about 4 hours ago. This is fairly breaking news. The suspect believed to be the notorious Golden State Killer who was wanted in a dozen murders and nearly 50 rapes from the late 1970s to the mid-1980s has been arrested in California, officials said Wednesday. Joseph James D'Angelo, 72, was arrested early Wednesday at his Citrus Heights home located 16 miles northeast of Sacramento after a DNA sample matched that of the Golden State Killer, officials said in a news conference. County records show D'Angelo is being held at the Sacramento County main jail, where he's being held on 2 counts of first-degree murder and is reportedly on suicide watch. Officials say prosecutors will seek the death penalty. Really? Against D'Angelo, a former police officer. Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schalbert said the DNA led investigators to identifying him and help solve the case in the last 6 days. We knew we were looking for a needle in a haystack, but we also knew that needle was there. That Schalbert said. We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento. The Golden State Killer is believed to be responsible for at least 12 murders, 45 rapes, and 120 home burglaries throughout California. Man, he was a busy bee. The cold case killer is believed to have raped 37 people around Sacramento and Central Valley and killed 2 between 76 and 78, according to the Sacramento Bee. Officials believed he moved to the Bay Area in Southern California from there. D'Angelo worked as an officer with the Exeter Police Department from 73 until 76. He was fired from the Auburn Police Department in 79. So he was a cop from about 73 to 79. In 79, he was arrested for stealing a can of dog repellent and a hammer from a drugstore, according to the Auburn Journal article from the time. Jane Carson Sandler, who is believed to have been raped by the Golden State Killer, also known as the East Area Rapist, told South Carolina's The Island Packet on Wednesday she was contacted by authorities about the possible arrest. I just found out this morning, she said. I'm overwhelmed with joy. I've been crying and sobbing. Interest in the cold case was renewed following the release of the late author Michael McNamara's crime novel, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. McNamara's husband, actor Patton Oswalt, and her friend Billy Jensen published the book after her death. It reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list last month. That's really interesting. Last month, this book reached #1, and then they fucking caught the guy. It's really interesting to me.
First of all, they've arrested someone. They've named that someone, and no one has seen the evidence. They claim DNA evidence, and where do you send your DNA samples to? The FBI crime labs. let's see how this works out. Because real famous cases in California never go awry, even with DNA evidence, do they?
No.
Hey, and the glove didn't fit. All right, the glove didn't fit. No.
Yeah. What do you have to
Okay.
love MC?
No, but what I think is really interesting, though, the man is 72 or 73. I don't remember what they said, but he's pretty much almost dead already, and they're going to pursue the death penalty. By the time his appeals are over, he's going to die in his cell of a heart attack. What's
he
the
lives
point?
in California. When was the last time California executed somebody? 40?
Well, no, actually, you know what's funny is that that was going to be something that I brought up. To be quite honest, I'm more surprised that California still enacts the death penalty. We're so fucking liberal that I'm not even kidding you. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I legitimately told my girlfriend that we didn't enact the death penalty.
It's on the books.
It was so it's on the books, but I mean, so we just don't enact it that often, or I mean, because don't get me wrong, if this guy was like in his like mid-20s or something, I'd say, you know, just fucking desserts, you know, I suppose. But I don't know. To be honest, I'm more surprised that California is giving him the death penalty than anything else.
Well, I mean, they're going to try and give him the death penalty. But like I said, when was the last time someone was executed in California?
I think the 50s or 60s, right?
I'll Google it real quick here. Hang on.
But I mean, yeah, this guy was really busy, though. If this is the correct person, I mean, let's go over here to Wikipedia. All right. Let's go up a little bit to the timeline here. So he started the East Area Rapist Crimes started in June 76 through July 79. There is 23 of them. There was an unexplained 3-month break in the attacks. Then the first attacks outside Sacramento occurred. The first one was September 6, 1977, and there was 10 of those. Then he took another break and started doing the same thing in Modesto and Davis. Then another 3-month hiatus. He moved to Contra Costa County. I mean, this guy was prolific in the area. And if anybody really does deserve the death penalty, if he's guilty, it'd probably be him. But once again, 73 years old, he'll never see the gas chamber.
Yeah, there are 13. There were 13 people executed in California.
I know you don't have gas chambers for these
since 1978. The last person executed was in 2006, so 12 years ago.
Oh wow!
So yeah, you have the death penalty law, but you're averaging less than one a year. Meanwhile, there's Texas going. We want at least 2 or 3 a month. We got a quota system.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. At least it's being used sparingly. I don't know. Oh, fuck.
The last time they executed somebody, he was 76 years old, legally blind, diabetic, and wheelchair bound.
Oh, good. So he would have died in about a month anyways, but, you know, let's pull the plug.
Had to save frickin', medical costs somehow.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm guessing they're convinced he did it. They've charged him and arrested him. He's on suicide watch and they want to pursue the death penalty. Why not just give him extra shoelaces? I mean, really.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking my language.
If you're gonna go that far, why not just put a bullet in his head and be done with it?
No, let him do it himself. I mean, you can hand him a sword. He can go out the Roman way for all I care. But why pursue the death?
Do it. Encourage him. Do it. I got a camera. We'll put it up on YouTube. It'll be great. Go on. Do it.
Monetize it.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah, make the state some money. Fuck, why not?
Be on YouTube Red.
Oh, God.
But I mean, yeah, this guy was pretty bad. And I'm guessing when he was serving as a police officer, only some of these crimes happened at that time frame. He was fired in 79. So let's see. The last. Well, no, he moved out of Sacramento to Modesto and Davis in 78. He kept fucking going all the way through when he got fired. April 5th, 79, June 2nd, 79. Yeah. So, I mean, and he kept going all the way to 86. And that in the 80s is when he started killing people, not just raping and burglarizing their home. So when he was a police officer, he had more of a self-control, I guess, would be a way to put it.
Self-control.
Well, he didn't kill him afterwards. He left him alive, right? Or else this person couldn't have wrote the book that got him found, right?
Well, I mean, he was interviewing. There's this body. There's that body. You know, he came upon a body here and there. I mean, he was a cop, right?
Yeah, and no, I want to go back to stealing a hammer and dog repellent. What the fuck are you doing, dude? It's like, you're a fucking cop. Buy the hammer. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Oh, I didn't think he was a cop when he was caught stealing.
Yeah, that's what got him fired. That's what lost him his career as a police officer. Dog repellent and a fucking hammer. That's like when I got caught shoplifting at 17. It was fucking birthday candles because I wanted my friend to buy me a soda. We only had $1 and she had to buy birthday candles. I'm like, I'll get the fucking candles. Get a Mountain Dew. So, I mean, that's like, goddamn.
Good plan, Mad Dodge. Very good plan. Worked out well.
It was fucked, dude. They were following her and caught me. Like, they didn't suspect me. I was stealing beer out of there all the time. Fuckers.
Oh, that's funny.
So you're admitting now that you're a career criminal.
Career? Really? 17, jacking some beers, career criminal? Damn, you've lived a sheltered life.
Oh, I've lived a sheltered life. Oh, okay.
But I mean, who the fuck gets caught, especially a police officer, stealing dog repellent? Dog repellent.
I know. I mean, come on. I mean, granted, you're a police officer. We probably don't pay him as much as we should in California, but I mean, fuck. You're saying you don't have enough money to buy that fucking shit? Come the fuck on, dude. How much is a hammer down at fucking Home Depot? $4? Fuck off.
Yeah, how much was it in 79? 80 cents? Like, really fuck off.
You guys are spending more time concerning the fact that he got convicted of robbing a hammer and a dog repellent than you are the fact that he's running around raping women in droves and killing them.
Oh, I mean, come on. There's like 70 billion of us or something, right? I mean, we're not that fucking special. I mean,
well, that's horrible.
People say you can't put a price on life, but I mean, to what degree?
You can't put a life on it. It's free, right? Take it when you want it.
Yeah.
God. Well, that ends any chance for monetization, Mad Dodge. Sorry. Not really.
So, I'm not allowed to be monetized. I'm on the fucking blacklist. It's all good. But I mean, I don't know what else to go into when it comes to the crimes, though. I'm not going to sit here and detail the fucking crimes. The details are on Wiki, though. I mean, if you're that much of a sicko and you want to read all the fucking gory details,
put it in the chat for the viewers.
All right, yeah, I'll throw the Wiki site over there. But I mean, that is interesting fucking timing, man. That book hits #1 a month ago, and suddenly they find who they claim to be the person. Do you buy that? Because you brought up the FBI and everything. So I'm not convinced that you necessarily buy that.
I'm willing to wait and see. That's all. Do I suspect that this guy is most likely guilty? All right. Yes, at this point in time, I have no reason to suspect otherwise. However, right, I don't like the fact when they kind of announce this kind of crap like this, because you can't trust the press and you can't trust certain agencies when it comes to this kind of things unless you start seeing, some actual evidence. All right. Just because somebody claims that there's DNA evidence, okay, that's fine. Show me the chain of custody you used, and then show me what the evidence is. Okay, so It's just that when a press comes back and makes these kind of things, well, we got this guy. This guy's guilty as like this. Okay, this is from decades ago. Okay, so the chain of custody becomes not long, right? When you're trying to hold the evidence and stuff. So this becomes quite important. I mean, these become really important to make sure that the chain of custody was maintained, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So
that's a really good point. Or the DNA itself could have degraded to the point where they can't retest it, which his defense attorney will make them retest it.
It depends on how they've stored it. I mean, there's a lot of things about it that you got to that are going to be important going forward. And if it's just this DNA evidence, if that's the only evidence they have in this guy, then everything's going to revolve on whether or not you believe the DNA evidence or don't believe the DNA evidence. All right. Mm-hmm. So, you're not going to take somebody from 30 years ago and put them on the stand and say, I identified that person as my attacker, because people are going to go, yeah, like you remember 30 years ago. Every little detail, with knowing this has to be him and he's 30 years older.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially when you're encountering some cases where this guy's actually wearing masks, and only parts of his face are visible. I mean, at that point, so
they could have other evidence, and I'm not trying to try this case in public. I just don't like the idea of trying to try the case in public. Okay. And yes, there are criminals that people remember. This was somebody from X numbers of years ago, okay, and we do sometimes give that a lot of leeway. For example, a lot of the Nazi war guards, the guards from the Nazi concentration camps that were outed later on, 20, 30, 40 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's an infallible system. I'm just saying that, we got to keep an eye on some of this stuff. Let the process play out. There is a reason we have a justice department. There's a reason we have a judicial system. Is it perfect? No, nothing is. But at least let's give it that much time before we start convicting this guy of all these heinous crimes and saying these are all tied together.
Well, let's speak of the trial a little bit. When they're looking for a pool of jurors for this, are they going to ask, did you read the book? Like, what is your knowledge of the Night Stalker or whatever? Like, there's 3 different serial killer names that he had. He was called, let's see here. All right. The original Night Stalker, the East Area Rapist, the East Bay Rapist, and the Diamond Knot Killer. So this guy had like 4 different names. So, I mean, you would have to ask all the jurors, have you heard of this story? How did you read the book? How did you feel about the book, right? Because you want an impartial jury still.
Well, if that's your intent, yeah. If you're a judge who wants to frickin' hang them high, then no, you're not going to ask those questions. I mean, that's the sad part about where you're at within the judicial system, especially in California. Which judge does he go in front of? The guy who's going to say, hanging now, let's save the trial, versus the guy who basically says, he was just a good boy and misunderstood. The time served. Bang.
Well, let's face it, that one's a little more practical. It's California.
Hey, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt. I was giving your state the benefit of the doubt.
Never do that. That'd be a grave mistake.
I still want to build the wall from Arizona all the way up north, but I mean, it's...
I don't know. High Impact Flips put out a recording from a town hall in California in LA County, and there was a bunch of pissed off residents about the sanctuary city status. So there might be some help, some hope for you guys down there.
No.
Don't. I mean, here's the thing: the public can piss and moan all they want, but the public's not the one making the laws. And let's face it. I mean, it takes someone really fucking pissed off to actually go out to a fucking town hall and bitch at their fucking city council. You know, it really takes a special kind of fucking person. And you're probably not getting too many of those in the state of California. You know, it's how many people didn't show up to that town hall who are all about, you know, the one world love and peace and, you know, all that awesome shit.
Yeah, fair enough. Did you watch that though? Because I did share it in our Discord, dude, and that was really interesting. They were freaking out, and there were so many people at this town hall that it was standing room only for people to come in and testify against this sanctuary city law. So
Yeah.
it was really,
Well,
you
also got to keep in mind where in the state was that, because I didn't see that. Do you remember the name of the town by chance?
No, I don't. I just remember one of the citizens bitching was talking about Los Angeles. So I'm guessing it's LA County somewhere.
LA County, I would not believe you, to be quite honest. If you're talking about a place that's maybe like if you're talking around like Fresno, maybe there's a small chance that could have been just a pissed off citizen. If you're talking Northern California, maybe. But if you're talking Bay Area, I wouldn't believe you.
I think that the latest thing that I saw was anything on that was San Diego, where San Diego council members voted to reject the sanctuary state policies.
Really? Wow, that's a fucking surprise, I have to admit.
Not really, when you consider the fact that there's a major Marine base there.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Marines tend to be a little bit
conservative
to the right, just a wee bit.
Yeah. Oh, I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thunk that?
Yeah, that's true. I guess this would be a perfect opportunity to plug my video that I'm currently editing. The downfall of California, how it might affect you, or might not, since most people don't live in California.
Downfall of California is fairly simple. One high yield freaking nuclear weapon in the San Andreas Fault, and we're good to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Reduces most of our problems right there.
Well, since you went ahead and just plugged your video, which I'll be checking out as soon as you get it done and uploaded, unless you already did.
No.
I was gonna, think so.
Yeah. I was gonna finish it today, but I had to stay really late at work, and I don't know if I'm in the mood for editing today.
So, any other stories you boys want to talk about, or is it just going to be a little over an hour episode today? Which is fine. We need to do that a little bit more often anyway. We don't always have to go 5
How
hours.
could you forget about Chicago?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
okay,
god.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chicago.
Yes. The wonderful Chicago. All right. This is from Reason, right? Which is I don't know anything about Reason.com.
Reason Magazine is great. It's a libertarian-leaning publication. Like, okay, I really happen to like.
I apologize for bringing up such a rag. On June 21st, Chicago police pulled Spencer Bird over for a broken turn signal. Bird says his signal wasn't broken, but that detail would soon be the least of his worries. Ever since, Bird has been trapped in one of the city's most confusing bureaucratic mazes, deprived of his car and his ability to work. He now owes the city thousands of dollars for the pleasure. Bird, 50, lives in Harvey, Illinois, a corrupt, crime-ridden town south of Chicago where more than 35% of the populace lives below the poverty line. He is a carpenter by trade, but until the traffic stop, he had a side gig as an auto mechanic. Bird said that he's been fixing cars ever since he was 16 years old and blew up my first motor. Sometimes he did service calls and he would give clients rides when he couldn't repair their cars on the spot. Yeah. On this early summer night, Bird was giving a client, a man he says he has never met before, a ride in his Cadillac DeVille. The police pulled both of them over out of the car and searched him. Bird was clean, but his passenger's pocket was a bag of heroin the size of a tennis ball.
Oh my fuck.
A large ball of heroin. Okay. Yeah. That's a bit on the large side. Okay.
Oh my god.
The two were hauled off to the precinct house. The police released Bird after a short stint in the interrogation room without charging him with a crime. But when Bird went to retrieve his car, he found out the Chicago Police Department had seized and impounded it.
Oh my god. And with a fee of $6 trillion to get it out of impound. Oh fuck, man.
All right, it impounds cars even when the owner isn't even driving, like when a child is borrowing a parent's car. Right. In total, Chicago fined motorists more than $17 million between March of 2017 and March of this year. Holy crap.
My fucking god.
You are fining motorists to the tune of 17. This is a city. This is a city, mind you. $17 million worth of fines on motorists in a year.
You realize it's like the entire GDP of like Zimbabwe in like 2 or 3 years, right? Like that is fucking absurd.
That's
Holy
like
shit.
That's like $1.4 million a month in fines.
That's fucking awful.
A month.
Oh my god. I would sue the shit out of the fucking city. Oh my god. I would sue the fucking shit out of their ass.
About 10 million of those fines were for driving on a suspended license. Holy crap.
What? Bullshit. Bullshit, he had a fucking suspended license.
More than 3 million were for drug offenses, like the one that resulted in the pounding of the car. so $10 million for driving on a suspended license.
You sure you wanna use that nuke on California, buddy? Huh? Hey? Oh my god. Oh.
He can't retrieve anything, including the $3,500 worth of tools locked in his trunk.
Oh my god.
They valued his Fleetwood DeVille at $1,600. Right?
I don't even.
But because this is a drug thing, they're talking about I think they're talking about seizing it.
Yeah. Seize it and fucking sell it. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's civil asset forfeiture, and it's bullshit. The man was never charged with a crime. He didn't commit a crime other than helping out somebody, for his job. Like, our van broke down on I-5, and we got picked up by the car lot, and they towed our car and had it fixed. If I would have had something on me and we got pulled over, that shit could have happened here in Oregon to him. It's crap. I mean, how can you even be a taxi driver? Like, what if you get your fucking taxi pulled over and you got fucking 50 cent in the back with a fucking pocket full of crack rocks? I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a good point.
In 2007, the Chicago budget had a $94 million deficit. Chicago mayor, by the time current Chicago mayor Rahm Emanuel took office in 2011, after years of steadily raising structural deficits and crippling recession, the city was facing $650 million annual budget gap. Annually, $650 million. The city is in the red annually. His solution has been to try and nickel his dime out of the way of these massive budgets. He's jacked up costs of just about everything, from minor taxes to permits on city books to cigarette taxes, restaurant permits, valet and loading docking fees, cable television fees, mandatory vehicle stickers, towing fees, water and sewage, garbage collection, garage parking, even a fine for allowing weeds in yard growing too tall. His most recent budget proposal increases taxes for Uber and Lyft rides, monthly telephone bills, and big draw spots for music events.
Are you fucking kidding me? Fucking telephones! No, I'm fucking... This is an honest question. I'm not even being sarcastic. At what point do you expect humans to actually live in your fucking city?
Well, it gets better. He has also precipitously raised fines for unlawful drugs in a vehicle from $500 to $2,000, $3,000 if the car is within 500 feet of a school zone, for littering, drag racing, playing music too loud, possession of graffiti materials, or illegal fireworks.
Possession of graffiti material.
Yeah,
oh,
you know what graffiti materials are? Yeah, you go to Walmart and you buy some fucking spray paint. There you go, graffiti material.
Over the last 12 months, the city has issued $15,000 in impound fees for playing music too loud.
Fuck off. Jesus Christ on a fucking cracker.
This
that
is
ridiculous.
Zero tolerance approach to the drug war.
Dude, no fucking kidding. Oh my god. Is this just like their zero tolerance policy towards like humans in general? Like, it is literally impossible to not break any of those fucking laws. And I mean, like graffiti materials. Is that what you said? Was that the exact wording? I mean, what is graffiti materials? Like, does that include chalk? Like a child's out drawing. I mean, like, for fuck's sake, you're gonna cuff that child up, rough him up a bit before throwing him in the back of the car.
You happen to stop and had a bottle, thing of Cryon in your car as you were trying to drive home because you wanted to paint up a chair.
Yeah. Oh my god! I swear to God, I'm not even kidding you. That sounds like a fucking just a step below London. Next thing you know, they'll be arresting you for tools used to reupholster a fucking chair. You know, like a screwdrivers and shit. Oh my god.
Okay. When Bird explains his case to people, he brings out a leather binder stuffed with papers, letters, court filings, notices, receipts, telling a 2-year-long, this is 2 years old already, right? Story of bureaucracy. The trail begins 10 days after it was first seized. On the 31st of 2016, he filed a property claim with Cook County State's attorneys seeking a release of his car. He listed it as a family heirloom, formerly the property of his late brother. On August of 29th of 2016, he received a notice from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office that his car was subject to a pending civil forfeiture proceeding.
Oh my god.
The state attorney's office had filed a complaint against Bird's car, seeking to have it forfeited to the state.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's
Because civil forfeiture operates under the legal fiction that it's an action against the property, not its owner, Bird's case appeared on a docket of the people of the state of Illinois versus the 1996 Cadillac sedan. They filed a lawsuit against the car. Seize it.
Oh my god. What
they filed a
timeline is this?
Against the vehicle.
Oh, I'm not gonna fucking lie. I don't know what to say. I'm at a fucking loss of words. You know, there's only so much fucking stupidity you can consume within a 24-hour time period, and I hit my max about 2 hours ago. Oh my fucking god.
So after a number of different things, Bird filed a request to the department in December 15th of 2016. Now, remember this, we were just talking in August, right? Mm-hmm. Now, December 2015, to each challenging the fines and fees. 4 days later, at his first hearing, where the administrative law judge found there was enough evidence to continue the case against him. By this point, his Cadillac had racked up $6,445 in storage fees.
Oh my fucking god. Oh.
Wait, and that was like a month span, and he had that much in 3 months?
3 months.
Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I just physically felt my blood pressure raise just a little bit.
The judge waived the storage fees, but couldn't do anything about the fines being imposed by the city.
Oh, fuck.
This is just ridiculous.
No, there's... Oh my god.
The Chicago impound laws have no innocent owner defense. Basically...
Okay, so no, in all fucking reality here, is there anyone else here reconsidering asset forfeiture? Because I genuinely fucking am. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is fucking bogus, man. How the fuck do you put up with this kind of shit? Like, at what point do you have to draw the line? Or I mean, not even draw the line, but at least clarify and define what kind of assets that you're fucking seizing.
In February of 2017, Bird showed up at room 110 for his second and final hearing before a Chicago administrative law judge. It did not go any better. The judge, bound to the same standard, ruled that there was probable cause that there were drugs in Bird's car, and therefore he's liable to the fines under the city code.
Right, but I mean, here's the thing: if you're talking about asset forfeiture, I mean, the car wasn't in the name of the drug dealer. The car wasn't in the name of the person who had, or sorry, was in possession of the drugs. I mean, oh my God! So I mean, if one of my friends just so happens to, smoke a bit of grass, does that mean they can fucking take everything I own because I've been hanging out with this person? I mean, for fucking goddamn sake!
Well, the idea that somehow there's a likelihood of drugs in his car, based on what? All right, you've had the car for how long? You're going to tell me they haven't sent a drug dog through the car to see if there's drugs?
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow.
Today, the Cadillac is still in the Chicago impound lot, where it will stay until he pays the $2,000 fine for having unlawful drugs in his car, or he gives it up.
Oh, fuck it. I would just give up, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah, they valued the car at $1,600. He's taking a loss at that point, so fuck it.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that he's not getting back tools, which is, if he's been working on cars for a long time, there's a good chance or, I mean, I don't know, it depends, but there's a pretty good fucking chance that he's got at least $1,000 worth of fucking tools in there, man.
No, he has $3,500 worth of tools in there.
Yeah. I know people who have been working on cars for a while, and they've easily got like $6,000 worth of fucking tools. And I mean, at what point does this not impede on your livelihood? Like, I don't understand how that's legal. Like, I mean, I can understand if it was asset forfeiture of a business in which there might be money laundering or something like that. But I mean, you're talking about a guy who was unknowingly giving a ride to someone who just so happened to have a giant ball of crack or something like that on him.
Oh, this is even better. The last and most recent paper in Bird's leather binder is a pink notice dated February 9th, 2018, informing him that the city of Chicago is planning on selling his Cadillac for scrap metal.
What about the tools, though? Where are they going to go?
Scrap metal. Looks like the city just got a brand new set of fucking tools. Oh shit, dude.
They are claiming that you have failed to timely request a hearing to challenge the towing and storage fees.
Wait a minute.
Therefore, you waived your right to a hearing.
Oh my God, man.
Oh.
Well, and see, that's the government overreach right there, and well, I mean, there's other stories of civil asset forfeiture, like that police officer, the sheriff or whatever in Florida, had a nice beach house, that they seized, and he just, got to keep. Like, I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be some. I mean, no, because to be honest, I don't even want to say probable cause, because in my mind that is a little too vague in terms of something like this. But there needs to be some form of. There needs to be some kind of warrant system or something in order to actually seize someone's assets for something like this. I mean, oh my God, man. I feel so fucking bad for this guy.
It's supposed to be. It's protected under the Fourth Amendment. You have the right to your papers and property, his car. He has a right to own his car.
Well, but I mean, what kind of bylaws are there in place in this fucking godforsaken hellscape of a fucking city that circumnavigates some of those laws, or the Fourth Amendment rather? You know, I mean, what kind of bylaws do they have where, well, if you've broken this law or that law, then we have the right to seize any cash and, you know, all this other stuff. I mean, I don't fucking know. This is a fuck, dude. I don't know. It's one of those circumstances that just kind of leaves me without words. That's awful. This poor fucking guy. Oh my gosh.
It's at some point in time, when something like this gets out, you would think that they would go, look, we're going to administratively end this. I mean, you would think that the politician who comes back and stands up and says, no, this is over, we're going to end it, would earn you know, a lot of you know, good attaboys from people.
Mm-hmm.
That they would go ahead and put a stop to this, but they want money so badly that they're willing to leave this guy just hanging high and dry because they want to steal his car. That's basically what they want to do.
I mean, not even that. I mean, the problem is, right, this guy is not coming up with that fucking outrageous sum of cash. There's no way they're getting that sum of cash from this guy. I'm fucking sorry. If I was this guy, not only do I not have the money to pay these fines, but even if I did have the money, I would give them the middle finger and I would tell them to go fuck themselves. I would not pay that fine. That is so incredibly fucking unjust.
Well,
I don't understand.
How do you send a document saying that you have not responded in a timely manner when you've got 2 years worth of freaking binder paper demonstrating that you did? See, right there, they should find the person who sent that notice and fire them. They should find the government worker who sent that notice.
Fire him. Arrest him for theft of property. Don't fire him. Arrest this son of a bitch.
It's government bureaucrats are government bureaucrats. The problem is that you don't fire these people. Trust me, they'll be back on the street stealing from other people soon anyway. It is Chicago.
Forget.
But it's just ridiculous. It's just utterly ridiculous. Now,
how does a Democratic mayor like Rob Emanuel do this, especially when it comes to the possession laws? Like, aren't the Democrats more lenient when it comes to the drug war? It sounds like he's going full fucking George W. on this shit.
When you run out of other people's money to pay for your socialist programs, this is what you have to do. When your city has a $650 million budget deficit each year annually, you gotta have to get the money somehow.
Yeah.
And Chicago has one of the highest tax rates of any city in the nation already. So what else are you gonna do?
Gosh, it's almost like they need to cut some welfare programs. I mean, God forbid.
Or you do what Oregon and Colorado and Washington and Nevada and Alaska and Hawaii have done. You legalize marijuana for recreational use and you get more tax money. Bam, problem solved.
Or you basically seize cars. He chose the latter. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
he went the God in 60 seconds route.
Yeah, I mean, potato at this point, right? Oh my God.
It's unbelievable to me, some of the crap that these people pull. And then what gets me is people tolerate it. It's like the people are seeing this, and you vote this asshole in again and again and again. You vote these Democrats in that have done this to you again and again and again. I shouldn't call them Democrats because they're leftists. You vote these leftist socialists in time after time after time, and you're expecting the result to be different, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the other things that comes to mind is that, you know, how many? Because I mean, especially in Chicago, I mean, one of the cities with probably one of the highest fucking crime rates in the United States. How many people in fucking Chicago are actually gonna fucking put up with this bullshit, right? How many you know, people who are involved in the crime industry, you know, peddling, even if it's just something like stupid like marijuana or something, how many people are going to get fed up with that bullshit and just vote this fucking person out of office?
Get mad and start shooting people? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess that's a normal pastime in Chicago.
Well, no. I mean, I'm just.
Well, you'd be pissed too if you had to walk everywhere because they took your fucking Buick.
Well, I mean, at that point, you might be a felon, and so you're not voting. But I mean, I'm talking. No, I'm dead fucking serious. I mean, I'm serious, but
He's not even a felon. He wasn't a felon.
well,
He
no,
was
I mean,
the one with a freaking tennis ball size freaking. Oh my god!
no,
A lot of heroin.
No,
You
I
could-
know.
You could kill an entire city with that much heroin if it's pure enough. I mean, that's not a hit or two.
Either that or you could
We
just
ask
go.
how much that actually is.
Either that or you just use it as a tennis ball because, you know, you lost all your tennis balls. So whatever, make do.
A tennis ball size of thing of heroin.
It might bounce.
Is it fuzzy? Does it skip when it hits the cement? I don't know.
Gosh.
But still, all right. So they got this guy. You know that they got this guy's house. The guy who had the tennis ball size of heroin. You know, they got his house and everything else. And I'm going to scare people, but this is true. If they can do this for a car, what's to stop them from taking an entire, apartment complex for it?
Oh fuck yeah, dude! Turn that into like Section 9 housing or whatever the fuck it's called over there.
Just seize it yourself and rent it and you become the landlord as the city.
Yeah.
You pay us or else.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise
they
me
have
if they're running around up and down Trump Tower looking to freaking see if somebody has a freaking loot on them or something. He's got Quaaludes. We got the entire tower. We got Trump's tower.
Yeah. God, what a fucking god awful city. How the fuck does that thing stay above fucking water, man? That's well, I guess it doesn't. But yeah, that's pretty fucking bad, man.
So it would lose. Will it float?
No. Oh god.
Yeah, I just think it really goes to show the problem with civil asset forfeiture of people that were not convicted of said crime. If you're convicted before a jury of your peers and you did get that beach house with drug money, then all right, take the house. But that doesn't mean the sheriff gets to keep the house. That means you resell it. And
no, you cannot allow civil asset forfeiture. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, it can't be allowed. I know it's gone in front of the Supreme Court, and I know the Supreme Court has adjudicated in favor of this stuff. But to be honest, this is ridiculous. You have no proof where this came from. Okay, if you're going to see something, you should have to prove that it came directly from some kind of ill-gotten gain. Okay, if you can't prove it came from some ill-gotten gain, if you can't tie it directly to the criminal activity, then no, you should not. The state should not have the authority or the right to seize it, with one exception, and that is firearms.
Well, no, and you have a point, but I want to bring up how this actually came about. Really, it was to stop the cash flow for the organized crime. Organized crime would get arrested. They'd still have their cash flow and their assets, so they'd be able to get the best lawyers, and most of them got away with whatever they were busted for. Well, and that's what really brought this in.
They prove where the money was coming from. Then it's up to the government to prove the money trail that they can then assign to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you can't prove that this was ill-gotten gains, then no, I don't care if the government can't prove it, too bad. That's on the government's fault. That's on them to do their damn job right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
You could do it through a different system. It doesn't have to necessarily go through the criminal system. It could go through the civil system, in which case the standards of evidence are lower. I would be okay. I would be okay with that. But the government should not be able to seize assets, all right, for any reason, unless it's eminent domain, right? Where they're saying, and when I talk about eminent domain, I'm talking about eminent domain from the country. This is necessary for the security of the nation. That's what eminent domain should be used for. Mm-hmm. The only thing it should be used for is they say, okay, there's a direct reason we're doing this. For example, if you want to build a highway from Arizona all the way to Louisiana, right? If you have a reason from a military standpoint to be able to shift troops and everything, that's at least justifiable. Not because, well, you know, we want to put a Walmart here, so we want the extra tax revenue.
Absolutely. Or the Atlantic City argument where President Trump, before he was president, used eminent domain to kick a little old lady out so he could build his hotel/casino. I mean, yeah, it's being abused all the time.
In Connecticut, they actually kicked out an old couple from one of their homes so that they could redesignate the zone as commercial property because they were expecting a Walmart to come in there. And then because they were such dicks, Walmart said, no, we're not building a Walmart there. So they got nothing.
Oh,
They basically took the people's houses. Just ridiculous.
oh, that's fucking awful. I mean, I suppose it's good for Walmart for not, you know.
These aren't the people we want to be dealing with. We might want to go somewhere else.
Oh, fuck yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awful press, to be honest. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I mean, there was once upon a time where I used to agree with civil asset forfeiture, and that was before this story. I mean, in seizing, you know, there's some drug cartels, you know, running around with like diamond encrusted golden AK-47s and shit. You know, seizing that's fucking fine because, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, there's, you know, it came from some nefarious activity. But I mean, when you're talking about a guy who, you know, is unknowingly touting along some third party who just so happens to have a giant ball of crack in his pocket, you know, that's certainly reason for concern. This process needs to be fleshed out further, and there needs to be. I keep wanting to say probable cause. It's not the term I'm looking for. There needs to be some form of verification that it was used with. It was this item was purchased with like laundered money or you know, drug money or something along those lines. And in this case, that way it's perfect because you can't prove that this person bought the car with drug money. It's been in his family for years. You can't prove it about the tools in the car or anything along that line. So, I mean, I don't know. That's fuck, man. That's such an incredibly wild story. Oh my gosh.
I guess there is one more thing we could touch upon before we wrap up. The Alfie Evans story. I don't have an article for it, but I was just on my phone checking my Twitter, and it popped up again. So they considered the baby kind of a drain on the resources in the UK. You know, they already had the case previously of another child that they pulled the plug on. They once they pulled the plug, the baby was going to die. It's been, what, 3 days, and he's still kicking. He's still alive. The parents want to move him to Italy to continue care, and they won't allow it. I mean, I know none of us are British, but that seems like they're violating this child's right to life. Obviously, something in this child is trying to keep going because they didn't think he was going to breathe without life support, and there he is. So, what do you guys think?
I think socialized medicine is a crime. Always have. This just is just one more example of it. The problem isn't the doctor making an assessment. The problem is who has the right for the child? Who has the right to make decisions for the child? And if you're going to have socialized medicine, what happens is you're turning all those rights over to the state to decide these decisions for you. Right? Now, we're talking about a child in this case. They do the same thing for old people. If you're at a certain age, they're going to decide, well, you're not worth society. You're going to have a bureaucrat saying that you're not worth the monetary decision for us to keep you alive. It happens all the time. There's no perfect system. When you're dealing with human beings, people aren't perfect. There's no perfect system out there. But if you sit up there and let somebody else make these decisions for you, then you're going to get what you wanted, which is someone else is going to tell you you're going to get it right in the neck because that person doesn't give a rat's ass about who you are. They're a government bureaucrat, most likely someone you've never met, making decisions about your life. Someone that doesn't know you, has never met you, knows nothing about you, is making decisions about your life.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, no, I don't think the state has any say in the matter. I mean, this child is not a ward of the state, clearly, because he can't be, kid has fucking parents that are, 2 feet down the fucking hall. So they're not a ward of the state. The state shouldn't have any fucking say in the matter at all. If these parents want to take this kid to fucking Italy to get some kind of treatment, then far be it for me to prevent them from going. I mean, I suppose it is up for debate whether the child would actually survive the trip. I'm sure that would be one hell of a fucking plane ride ticket, but I don't know. I don't see any reason why they should impede on the process. It makes no fucking sense to me.
Well, yeah, and ultimately, because I made this argument before with the last case out of the UK, and by the way, these cases are going to keep coming up because you are granting the nationalized or whatever health system they have over there to regulate who lives and who dies. Not really the doctor's opinion, not really the parent's choice, like in America where we can move hospitals. No, you're giving the head of the hospital or the insurance people the fucking chance to decide this. And that argument before was we should let them come to America. They want to come to America and try this experimental thing, and the UK wouldn't let them. Well, here's another case. They want to go to Italy and try and keep this child alive, and the UK government won't let them. I mean, how many times is this going to have to come up before they figure out you can't control other people's lives in this way?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's horrible. It's just a horrible situation, unfortunately. It's truly sad. It truly is. So, anyway, that's everything I've got.
Yeah, and the father's pissed. He's threatened to sue everybody, like he's wigging out. But what if he does file a lawsuit?
So they'll charge him with a hate crime and put him in jail.
Yeah.
This is Great Britain we're talking about.
Yes. No criticizing the government here, comrades.
Oh God! What if they find out he watched Dankula's video? That might be enough cause to arrest him.
Oh yeah. Well, what if he's?
You ever retweeted one of Dankula's tweets?
Yeah. God forbid he once saw 2 seconds of a clip with Tommy Robinson in it. God save the Queen. What's up?
Oh, go ahead, 40 here in a second. I was going to say, I'm going to look more into this case, and if the child is still alive come Friday's show and they're still arguing about it, I'm going to try and get Cabbage on and actually get a British perspective. We'll see. I'll keep an eye on this story.
Yeah. Well, did you guys actually, when was this article published? Yesterday. So it must have been sometime this week. But I'm sure you guys understand the basis around universal income. But it was yesterday, actually, January 2017, Finland launched a first of its kind basic income trial, the first by a European government. For over 2 years, 2,000 randomly chosen unemployed citizens would receive a tax-free, no strings attached monthly payment of 560 euros, translates to $690, from the government to test the viability of basic income. With 8 months still left, with 8 months still left in the 2-year-long trial of universal basic income, the nation's government has told Kela, the Finnish Socialist Security Agency, it will not expand the project. The Finnish government has refused Kela's request for an additional £61 million, or $85 million, to expand the project to include unemployed citizens in 2018. It will continue to pay the people already involved in the project until January 2019, as originally planned. However, Finland's decision to end its basic income trial could be because another kind of welfare program has already caught its eye. Petiro Orpo. Finland's finance minister told Finnish newspaper Havagacha Blashikasha he thinks the nation should give a universal credit trial a go once the universal basic income officially ends. So what do you guys think about a universal basic income? That's I assume you guys love it so much.
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't that kind of what Bernie Sanders was arguing for in a way? I mean, he would have started with college, but he would have expanded it.
Oh, he's already said that. He thinks that everyone should work for the government because then he could be the slave master and he has the whip.
Well, I doubt he made the whip reference. Just saying.
That's the reason he's doing it. What other reason would you have to do that? Well, we're going to have everybody work for the federal government, which basically means you don't have the government owns everything, including you. And you're going to tell me he's not going to sit up there and use a whip?
Oh yeah, they would want your social media account passwords, and if you're saying wrong think, then you're fired. Oh, you can't get a job in the private sector?
Your new assignment is making big rocks into little rocks.
Yeah, your new assignment. You've been reassigned, comrade. You're going to the beautiful land of Siberia.
That's what they do. They have a freaking history of doing this. This is who socialists are. I mean, another thing that drives me crazy about people like A.J. Goodman, all right, is he talks about the praises of Bernie Sanders, how he was a Bernie Sanders supporter rather than Hillary because Hillary's corrupt. Okay, that statement, Hillary's corrupt, is very true. But it belies the fact that Bernie's been corrupt his entire time. When Bill Clinton was in doing his criminal activity, where was Bernie Sanders? He was on the floor of Congress. What was he doing? Supporting Bill Clinton. Basically justifying the criminal activity of Bill Clinton. And you think somehow he's not corrupt? Oh, he's a paragon of virtue, that he stands for America, that he stands for the rule of law? No, they never do. It always amazes me how many people forget about all this stuff.
I am rather surprised, though, that Finland is ending the trial. I thought it was something they were going to throw all their fucking eggs into that basket and go that route. So, I don't know. I don't know what the other thing is, but
Finland understands something. They have a neighbor. That neighbor is Russia. They fought with the Russians several times. Okay, they understand that they can't spend all their money on social programs and go broke because of it. Because they still got to have a defense. Because sooner or later, the Russians are going to go, I need a warm water port. Where's the closest one? Just like they always do.
Yeah, well, and it's fucking insane to me. This is what kind of caught my attention, was the fact that it started in January. So January, February, March, April. We're 4 months into this fucking program, and they're already asking for another $85 million fucking dollars. Okay, and granted, they're wanting to expand the program, but they're already asking for fucking more money, and we're 4 inches deep into this 12-inch fucking hole. So, I mean, this is fucking insanity to me. And to be quite honest, I mean, I don't know how far 560 euros goes in Finland, but I'm going to tell you right now, $690, that hardly pays a fourth of my fucking rent. So fuck off with that. Like that would fucking hardly help at all. I mean, you're talking about, you're talking about taxing everyone by the dozens to only dole out pennies to everyone. I mean, this is fucking insane. I mean, this is one of those Scandinavian countries that, the taxes are already quite high, I'm assuming. But now you're just fucking, you're adding pounds upon tons. It's fucking ridiculous to me.
yeah, absolutely. I concur with that. Totally. I don't know. Anything else on it, MC? Or I'm probably going to wrap up, I think.
No, I think we're done. You've been going at it for 2 hours now.
All right. Yeah, if you enjoy what we do, we do the Redeye stream 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Usually try to start around 3 p.m. That's Pacific Standard or Pacific Daylight Time right now. Sorry. Fucking Benjamin Franklin. Fuck you. Daylight Savings Time. Anyway, like and subscribe. Go ahead and share with your friends. Thank you all. Good night and good luck.